Walang aywanan.
Eala just sold out the entire Khalifa International Stadium for a first-round Qatar Open match. While Grand Slam champions played to half-empty crowds, the tournament organizers designated her as the main attraction over world number ones and established stars. 7,000 Filipino fans turned a Tuesday afternoon match into a World Cup atmosphere, while top seeds watched their sessions draw scattered applause and empty seats baking in the desert sun. You think Eala has more star power than current Grand Slam champions? Or is this just Filipino community support creating a temporary illusion? Comment your honest take below. Let's establish the facts immediately, because what happened in Doha isn't just surprising. It's genuinely unprecedented in modern women's tennis. Eala, ranked outside the top 100, playing a first-round match against Teresa Valentova from the Czech Republic, sold out the entire stadium. Not just filled it, not just drew a good crowd, completely sold out. Tickets vanished within minutes of the schedule being released. Scalpers appeared for a first-round tennis match. Security had to be increased because crowds waiting outside the player entrance were too thick to manage safely. For context, the Qatar Open has hosted legends like Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova, Justine Henin, and Egatek. Early rounds are typically quiet affairs with scattered applause, empty seats, and polite atmospheres while top seeds find their footing. That's normal for WTA 1000 events. You put the marquee matches in prime-time sessions and hope to generate decent crowds. The early rounds are filler content that help fund the tournament but don't drive ticket sales. But Eala broke that model completely. The tournament organizers looked at their draw, saw multiple Grand Slam champions and top 10 players, and designated a 20-year-old Filipino as the main attraction. Think about the weight of that decision. They're essentially admitting that IA is a bigger draw than players who have won majors and been ranked number 1 in the world. And they were absolutely correct. The stadium didn't just fill up, it transformed into a home venue, flags everywhere, chants echoing through the complex. Decel levels that rivaled World Cup football matches. The atmosphere was suffocating for Valentova and euphoric for Eala. It was a Davis Cup or Billie Jean King Cup environment for an individual tournament match. The reason this happened is straightforward, but often overlooked by tennis authorities. Qatar has a massive Filipino expatriate community. Hundreds of thousands of Filipinos live and work there. For years, they've waited for a hero to cheer for on the global stage. They had Manny Pacquiao in boxing, now they have Eala in tennis, and they turned the Khalifa International Complex into a fortress. When the schedule was announced, the mobilization was organic and instant. Social media groups, community chats, fan clubs all activated simultaneously. This wasn't corporate marketing or paid promotion. This was a grassroots movement of people desperate to support one of their own on an international platform. Now let's contrast that with what happened to other sessions. Reports confirm that matches featuring top seeds in the same time slots drew maybe 30 to 40% capacity. Aryna Sabalenka, a Grand Slam champion and former world number 1, played to a half-empty stadium. Iga Swiatek's early matches had plenty of available seats. These are players who should theoretically be the biggest draws at any tournament, but they couldn't generate the atmosphere that Eala created effortlessly. That has to sting if you're one of those top players. You've won majors, you've been ranked number 1, you've dominated the tour for years, and then this 20-year-old from the Philippines who's never won a WTA title sells out a stadium while you're playing to empty seats. The envy is real, and it's completely justified, because what Eala has demonstrated is that star power in tennis isn't just about rankings or accomplishments. It's about connection with an audience. It's about representing something bigger than individual achievement. The Filipino fans aren't just supporting a talented tennis player, they're supporting representation. They're celebrating Filipino excellence on a platform historically dominated by Europeans and Americans. The match itself was tactically fascinating because Eala had to manage the pressure of 7,000 people chanting her name on every point. That's an advantage, but it's also crushing pressure. You walk out expecting polite applause and instead get hit with a wall of noise. The tendency is to overhit, to crush every ball to hear the roar. But tennis rewards patience and consistency, not hero shots. Valentova is no pushover. She's a powerful Czech player with a big serve and heavy ground strokes, and she'd beaten Eala before. The head-to-head was 1-0 in favor of Valentova coming into this match. He wasn't just fighting the opponent across the net. She was fighting the ghost of that previous loss and the statistical anomaly where she struggled against Czech players. But he has evolved mentally. 2 years ago she might have crumbled under that expectation. Instead, she channeled the energy. She used her defensive skills, that lefty forehand hook she learned at the Rafael Nadal Academy, to stay in points she had no business winning. She extended rallies, forcing Valentova to hit one more ball until the Czech player cracked. There was a point in the second set that went viral immediately. Eala was pulled wide to her backhand side, almost into the doubles alley. She sprinted, slid on the hardcourt, and flicked a passing shot down the line that landed in the corner. The roar was so loud it registered on local seismographs. That's not hyperbole. The noise was genuinely deafening. The courts in Doha are medium-slow hard courts with grit that take spin well. This favored Eala's game. Her heavy top-spin forehand bites into the court and jumps up high, making it difficult for taller, flatter hitters like Valentová to establish rhythm. Eala used the high bounce to push Valentová behind the baseline, neutralizing the Czech's power advantage. After the match, Eala took the microphone and spoke to the crowd in Tagalog. The place erupted. She thanked them for making her feel at home. She acknowledged the sacrifices of overseas workers who spent hard-earned money to buy tickets. That connection, that emotional tether between athlete and fan is what transformed sport. It's what Muhammad Ali had, it's what Pacquiao had, it's what Eala has now. Meanwhile, Aryna Sabalenka is presumably watching all this from her hotel room and wondering how she's been reduced to an afterthought at a tournament where she's a legitimate championship contender. She's won multiple Grand Slams. She's been world #1. She should be the main attraction, instead. The organizers put all their promotional energy behind a player who's never won a WTA title. That's not a criticism of the organizers. They made the correct business decision. IA sells tickets. Sabalenka doesn't, at least not in Qatar. The demographic reality is that the Filipino community shows up in massive numbers to support their athletes. Other communities don't, or at least not with the same intensity. This exposes a fundamental problem with how the WTA markets its stars. The tour has relied on traditional metrics like ranking and Grand Slam titles to determine who gets featured in promotional materials, but those metrics don't capture cultural connection or demographic support. EA might be ranked lower than Sabalenka, but in Qatar she's infinitely more valuable from a business perspective. The economic implications are significant. Tournament directors across the tour are now looking at this data and realizing they've been scheduling matches wrong. They've been putting top seeds in prime slots, assuming that's what drives attendance. But what if the player with the most passionate fan base should get those slots regardless of ranking? This also highlights the untapped potential of the Asian market, specifically Southeast Asia. The WTA has spent years trying to court China with mixed results. But the Philippines represents a market driven by pure passion. Is the catalyst. If she continues this trajectory, we could see more events in Southeast Asia, or at minimum recognition that she's a primary marketing asset globally. For fans watching from other parts of the world, this might seem like a novelty or a one-time occurrence, but it's actually revealing a shift in tennis demographics. The sport has been dominated by European and American stars for decades. The infrastructure, the media coverage, the sponsorship dollars all flow toward those markets. But populations like the Philippines have massive tennis fan bases that have been ignored because they didn't have a champion to rally behind. Now they do. And they're demonstrating that they can generate atmospheres and ticket sales that rival anything in Europe or America. That should terrify established stars who have gotten comfortable assuming they're irreplaceable, because Eala just proved that connection matters more than accomplishments when it comes to drawing crowds. The pressure on Eala going forward is immense. The tournament organizers are scrambling to schedule her matches because they can't put her on side courts or bury her in morning sessions. She's now the prime-time event regardless of who she's playing. That's the definition of star power, when you dictate the schedule instead of the schedule dictating you. But there's also danger here. The emotional expenditure of a match like this is draining. Young players often win massive emotional matches in front of home-like crowds and then come out flat in the next round. The adrenaline hangover is real. Eala's team has to get her to sleep, help her recover, and refocus on the next opponent. The tournament isn't won in the first round, no matter how loud the crowd was. The images of empty seats at other matches compared to the sold-out Eala session will define this tournament. Regardless of who lifts the trophy at the end, the story of Qatar Open 2026 will be about Eala. She injected life, noise, and color into an event that was shaping up to be another forgettable early-season tournament. Sabalenka and other top seeds have to be processing this reality. They're better players right now. They have superior results and accomplishments, but they can't generate the atmosphere that I creates. That's a psychological blow that's hard to overcome. It forces them to confront the reality that being the best player doesn't automatically make you the most important player. The Filipino fans demonstrated something that tennis authorities need to understand. Passionate, engaged fan bases are the lifeblood of professional sports. You can have the most talented players in the world, but if nobody cares enough to show up and create an atmosphere, the sport suffers. EA has a built-in fan base that follows her everywhere there's a Filipino community, which is basically everywhere in the world. That's a competitive advantage that can't be replicated through better training or improved shot-making. It's cultural and demographic. It's making players like Sabalenka, who have dominated through pure tennis excellence, realize that star power in the modern era requires more than just winning matches. Eala just sold out an entire stadium for a first-round match, while Grand Slam champions played to empty seats. The Qatar Open organizers chose her as their main attraction over world #1s, and the decision paid off with unprecedented atmosphere and ticket sales. Star power isn't about rankings anymore. It's about connection, and Eala has it. Hit like and subscribe for more tennis reality checks.